Am I audible to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So wherever you unable to hear me, please means tell me, huh?
Yes, sir. I will try to tell you, but I keep moving in the whole class. If I stop moving, you also please stop moving, but stop explaining.
Okay. So fine. The topic which we are going to discuss is called as a Mrs. Packletide's Tiger, right? So, which is written by Saki. You know, the writer name is called as a Saki. So, which is a short name. So what I will tell you here is called as a Mrs. Packletide was an English lady, right? Who was overcome with a strong desire to shoot a tiger. Basically, she was not adventurous, or you can say that she was not brave, but she was, you can say, smitten with the jealousy. Smitten with the jealousy means what? That's something called as a she wanted to show, right? She wanted to show, and why she wanted to show? Now, because why generally people, why do they show? People show to whom? People show to their relatives, people show to their friends that how they live, how they, how they have the things, what kind of qualities they do have, isn't it? So they try to show that they are better than their counterpart. So here also you would find out Mrs. Packletide, who was smitten with jealousy with her friend, and her friend name is called as Loona Bimberton. So Loona Bimberton is what a kind of a lady who had recently been carried in an aeroplane by an Algerian pilot, right? So Algerian pilot, Pilot, right?
Yes.
So Algerian pilot. Mrs. Packletide wanted to outshine her. So when Mrs. Packletide came to know Loona Bimberton, so had been carried with what? Carried been had been carried an aeroplane by an Algerian pilot. Mrs. Packletide, felt a jealousy, and that's the reason she wanted to do something, which will uh, better than what Loona Bimberton did or had done. So therefore, Mrs. Packletide uh, desired to prove that she was no less than Mrs. What is her name? Bimberton, right? And Mrs. Packletide ultimate desire is what? Ultimate desire was to obtain. Obtain means to get a tiger skin. So if she gets a tiger skin and display it on the wall of her house, then she would prove that she was better than means Mrs. Bimberton, right? And that is the reason she carried the desire of what means to kill a tiger and to have the tiger skin. So if she succeeded in killing a tiger, her photograph would appear in the press and she would host a party. She would host a party means she would organize a party where in Curzon Street. It is the name of the street in Loona Bimberton's honor, right? So what she would do? Now she would kill a tiger and she would possess the she would purchase the skin of the tiger and that she would display on the wall of her house. And that would nothing but create a kind of a successful story of her, and that will be appear in the press, and she would host a party in Curzon Street in Loona Bimberton's honor. So, and where she would do the party, and in which she would call the Loona Bimberton uh, and with respect. But at the same time, her ultimate desire is to show Loona Bimberton that she was also not less of her. But the talk would be what? A tiger hunting. right? But the talk would be of her what? Hunting expedition. Hunting expedition means called as a desire to go for a journey where she could kill a tiger. She also planned to present a tiger claw brooch. So, what do you mean by tiger claw brooch? It could be called as a means a tiger skin or called as a tiger paw on Luna's next birthday, right? So, and that is what her thought that she would give a gift to Loona Bimberton that she killed a tiger and she would give a brooch on Luna's next birthday. All her motives were what? Largely dominated by her dislike of Luna. So it is not like she gave respect to Loona Bimberton. She wanted to make Loona Bimberton feel jealousy. She wanted to make Loona Bimberton realize that she was means better than her, right? So therefore, what happened? She decided to go for the hunting expedition where she could kill a tiger. So, but what happened here? Circumstances. Circumstances means situations. So, or you call it in Hindi called as a paristhitiya. So, circumstances proved what? To be favorable. Favorable means supported. So, situation भी उसको क्या कर रहा है? Means help कर रहा है और support कर रहा है. So, an old and weak tiger. So, means she desired to kill a tiger and she found out an old and weak tiger was visiting a neighboring village. Why? Now, in search of food, and Mrs. Packletide offered to pay 1,000 rupees to anyone who would help her in shooting a tiger or killing a tiger, right? The villagers, so, and it was the very old time, so that's why the villagers also got very tempted or desired. Why? Now, 1,000 rupees was not a small money, right? So, it was a lot of money in those days for the villagers, and therefore all the villagers made all the efforts to uh, do what? To confine the tiger, right? Confine the tiger or called as to search for or to trap the tiger, right? So that Mrs. Packletide could kill it, right? So therefore, they confined the tiger within the village. They wanted to keep the tiger in the village. So in that case, what happened? So what did the villagers do so that the tiger could be confined? So they got the cheaper kind of goats were scattered here and there, right? So why cheaper kinds of goats? Now, because when the goats would be here and there, so that the weak tiger would come for killing it. So to keep the tiger there, means they did nothing but they kept many of the goats keep here and there, right? So mothers were told not to sing lullabies. Lullabies means what? That's something called as a kind of a kids song or called as a old song, which were singing for the purpose of what? Means make their children to sleep, right? So, or called as make their children means you can say that not make their children to or kids to silent and also sleep. So even why the villagers told not to make not to sing that lullaby, because their lullaby could make what. Make the tiger prevent from not coming or prevent to come, right? So therefore, so what happened here, uh, lest the tiger's sleep should be disturbed also. This is also another reason why the villagers told mothers not to sing the lullaby. The only anxiety. So what do you mean by only anxiety? Anxiety means called as a kind of a desire, or you can say that a kind of a nervousness was that lest the tiger should die of old age before the day of hunting. The only anxiety was what? Now, lest the tiger should die of old age before the day of hunting. So the tiger should not die. before the hunting. Because if the tiger was old and the tiger was weak, if the tiger died because of the old age or because of certain regions, then Mrs. Packletide's the aim would not be fulfilled. Therefore, on the fateful night, on the fateful night means, what do you mean by on the fateful night? On the fateful night
Means
is indicated. It's called as a fortune. So on the fateful night or the night when they decided to kill the tiger, so that's why Mrs. Packletide came along with a paid companion. So what do you mean by paid companion? So Mrs. Packletide have the assistants whose name is called as a Miss Mebin. So who is Miss Mebin? Now Miss Mebin is the assistants of Mrs. Packletide. So who you know who used to get the payment, who used to get the payment for what? Who used to get the payment for supporting Mrs. Packletide. So, when Mrs. Packletide came along with a paid companion, Miss Mebin, so a platform had already been constructed. A platform means what? A kind of a plan that has been constructed or prepared properly. So, in a comfortable and conveniently uh, placed tree by the villagers. So it means the villager decorated means a kind of a comfortable place or convenient place. So in which or in where means Mrs. Packletide could secretly hide or hide herself and observe the tiger so that she could kill the tiger. So both the ladies, so who are the both the ladies? Now both the ladies, Mrs. Mebin and Mrs. Packletide, right? Who sat on the platform, a kind of a place. A goat with a loud bleat. A goat with a loud bleat was tied at a proper distance from the tiger, so that the tiger could come and attack the goat. Meanwhile, what happened? The tiger appeared on the scene and slowly walked towards the goat. So Mrs. Packletide decided it was the right time to kill the tiger. So what did she do? She fired a shot with her rifle. So when she fired with her rifle, so what happened? The tiger fell down. The tiger fell down to one side. The excited villagers celebrated. Why they celebrated? Because they realized that Mrs. Packletide finally killed the tiger. And as Mrs. Packletide killed the tiger, they all would get 1,000 rupees. So when the tiger fell down to one side, the excited villagers celebrated by beating drums and also singing. So Mrs. Packletide was also very happy. So Miss Mebin was very clever and alert. If you talk about that, Miss Mebin, who was very clever and alert also. Why? Because she drew or she understood that Mrs. Packletide's attention to the fact that her bullet had actually hit the goat and the tiger had died not because of the bullet she shot, but because of the heart attack. It means Mrs. Packletide did not kill the tiger. It was the goat that died because of the bullet. But the tiger was died due to heart attack. So, and it was the truth that Miss Maybe knew. But Mrs. Packletide not and the villager thought that the tiger was killed due to shock. So, what happened? And how did Miss Mebin came to know about that the tiger was not killed because of the bullet, but because of the heart attack? Because as per the loud report of the rifle, as per the sound report of the rifle, Miss Mebin pointed out that the tiger bore no wound. It means the tiger had no wound, no injury mark. So Mrs. Packletide was disappointed, but she consoled herself. She made herself calm with the thought that she possessed the tiger skin. So The villagers agreed to keep the secret. So when the villagers came to know about it, so villagers thought that they would keep the secret. What is the secret? The secret is called as Mrs. Packletide did not kill the tiger. It was the goat that was shot, and the tiger was killed due to heart attack. So it was the secret which the villagers kept it. Even Miss Mebin also kept it, right? So and they received the money. So who received the money? The villagers. Mrs. Packletide was not insecure about Miss Mebin, for she was a pet companion. If you talk about that, Mrs. Mebin was nothing but a paid companion, and Mrs. Packletide wasn't insecure about Miss Mebin, for she was a paid companion. So that is why Mrs. Packletide's picture appeared in 2 week lies, right? So Mrs. Packletide's picture appeared what? In 2 week lies. So one is what? That is something called as a Loona Bimberton, means should not know about the truth, right? And Miss Mebin should, means keep her mouth shut. So therefore, Luna refused to attend the lunch party that Mrs. Packletide had organized for in the honor of Mrs. Loona Bimberton, because she wanted to show that she killed the tiger, and she had the, means tiger skin and as well as a brooch. So, but Luna refused to attend the lunch party, but coldly accepted the tiger claw brooch. Coldly accepted the tiger claw brooch means what? Now, with anger in her heart, she did not want to keep the tiger claw brooch, but she forcefully kept it. But Miss Mebin was very clever. She was a money-minded, and she was cunning also, very clever. So how do we draw that she was clever? Because if you see that, means she did not say anything to Mrs. Packletide after the death of the tiger. But once Mrs. Packletide gave, means the bruise to Loona Bimberton, and the news came out in newspaper that Mrs. Packletide had killed the tiger. So now Miss Mebin decided to play the game. What did she do? Now she thought of exploiting. Exploiting means humiliating. Humiliating to whom? Now humiliating to Mrs. Packletide, because she came to know her weak point. So what did she do? She blackmailed. Who blackmailed to whom? Mrs. Mebin. Miss Mebin blackmailed to Mrs. Packletide. What kind of a thing she blackmailed? She blackmailed Mrs. Packletide by saying that what would happen if Loona Bimberton comes to know that Mrs. Packletide had shot the goat and not the tiger. So this makes Mrs. Packletide fear, right? And realize that means uh, means it would be a big mistake. So in that case, Miss Mebin is nothing but a very shrewd and clever. So Miss Mebin hinted Mrs. Packletide that she wanted money. She wanted money for what? She wanted money to buy uh, you can say that a weekend cottage near Dorking. Dorking is the name of the place. She wanted to buy a weekend cottage near Dorking. So, and if she would get the money, so she would keep her mouth shut. Mrs. Packletide was forced or exerted to pay money for that cottage. Miss Mebin named the cottage what? That is called as the wild beast, right? So since then, you could say that Mrs. Packletide never involved in big game shooting. So she confided to her friends. Confided means she secret. She kept a secret to her friend, Miss Loona Bimberton that incidental expenses were too heavy for such kind of a hunting. So it is nothing but a kind of a foolish. It is nothing but a kind of a jealousy. It is nothing but a kind of a, mm, you know, desire to show, right? Desire to show that you are better than others. So cost her a lot. So what kind of a cost? Now, she had to pay a lot of money to Miss Mebin for buying the house near Darking. So this is the kind of a thing that you would find out. Are you getting my point?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So in अगर मैं यहाँ पे ये कहूँ, so the story is something related to the very good moral. The moral stated that we shall not show, we shall not keep ourselves showy to others. We shall not feel jealousy for others because of the jealousy, because of the ostentatious nature or showy nature. What happened? We generally means make make a big mistake and for which we have to pay a lot for that. That is what the topic is trying to tell us, right? Uh, so, but if you observe that there are many other things also presented. Uh, Once we go through the kind of a discussion of this topic, like if you talk about why did Mrs. Packletide wish to kill a tiger? Can you give the answer to this?
Because of the jealousy she had towards her friend Loona Bimberton.
Now, this is the kind of a sentence, one line answer you have given. So if we want to give the answer, then we need to think of a big area. So because if you get the kind of a extract, the answer would be one line, right?
Sir,
But
sir,
yes,
sir, actually, whatever you told, I means understood it completely. But in one part, I was unable to understand. Means I got the story, but at the beginning, you told that the what this Mrs.
Packletide,
Mrs.
Packletide,
Yes, Mrs. Packletide. Mrs. Packletide was jealous of her friend Loona Bimberton.
yes.
So why exactly? Means what did Loona Bimberton did that Mrs. Packletide was jealous of her?
Well, it's a good question. So let me point out, uh, Mrs. Packletide felt jealousy of Loona Bimberton because of what? Now, because of the stunning act. Stunning act means what? दो गर्ल हैं, दो लड़कियां हैं. So दोनों लड़कियों में यहाँ पे कंपटीशन हो रहा है. एक लड़की ने शो किया, सो प्रेजेंटेड किया कि मैं मीन्स she went for a flying in an aeroplane for 11 miles with an Algerian aviator, right? So this is the line, the stunning act of Loona Bimberton. So, and what is that stunning act? The stunning act is called as a flying in an airplane for 11 miles with an Algerian aviator. So that caused Mrs. Packletide to be restless and sleep deprived. So when she comes to know that, means like sometime what happened, our parents or your parents make a comparison you with any other boy. That Tanmay, see that your friend has got the good score in jail or good score in NEET. What about you? So what will you do? So this is the kind of a picture when it shows to you, you will try to do something outshone, don't you?
Yes, sir.
You will do that or not? So
Yes,
similar to that, when we talk about Mrs. Packletide and Loona Bimberton, we find out that means Mrs. Packletide kill a tiger or called as excessive desire of Mrs. Packletide to kill a tiger is an example of what? Jealousy towards Loona Bimberton. So who is Loona Bimberton? Loona Bimberton is her friendly enemy. Loona Bimberton is who? Who is Loona Bimberton? It is or she is her friendly enemy. And the stunning act of Loona Bimberton of flying in an aeroplane for 11 miles with an Algerian aviator caused Mrs. Packletide to be, restless and sleep deprived. So to give the perfect jab, to give the perfect jab means to give the perfect answer. What did she do? She had decided upon the point of killing a tiger and exposing to all and especially Loona Bimberton that she was also means as courageous as Miss Loona Bimberton. Did you understand that?
Yes, sir. Sir, just a last thing. I understood what you said. Who is this Algerian aviator?
See, it is the name of that aviator. Aviator means what? You're talking about nothing but a kind of a, what do we say, that aeroplane or not?
Okay. Okay, means flying in an aeroplane
Yeah,
is like
so Algerian aviator is indicating about the pilot, Algerian pilot, with the Algerian pilot, how she could means fly 11 miles, isn't it? That is what it is trying to tell.
no, means I can't get it. Just it means like flying in an aeroplane is just a normal thing, and flying 11 miles in an aeroplane. What's so special about that Mrs. Packletide was jealous?
You could feel like what it is a kind of a common thing, but did you hear that 1,000 rupees that attracts the villagers? That what do you think? 1,000 rupees at that time was nothing but a very huge for them. Yes or no?
Okay. Now
So,
I get it.
so at that time also a woman who could fly in an Algerian aviator for 11 miles was something like a means awe to everyone, isn't it?
Yes.
Understood. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So you would find out many of the words like you talk about deviation. What do you mean by deviation in the topic? That called as a change. What do you mean by procured? It is called as a obtained. So you would find out lots of words also. Um, fine. Any other question in this?
No, sir. I got the margin. Now the thing is that we need to get into the text for getting good answers.
So that is what. Okay. I think the textbook contains also some question at the beginning, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So the first question is called as a why do people hunt? Can you tell that? Can you tell me the web chart? What are the
Yes.
various reasons for the people to hunt?
First thing, people hunt out of greed because the animal parts like skins and nails and teeth are very means like very highly demanded and also really expensive in markets.
Okay, you
Uh,
first tell that selling skins and bones. Next,
Yes. And then it is written that it was thought as an act of bravery. So, which brought fame to the one who killed them, like the hunter. It was seen as an act of bravery that fame came that, yeah, this person is a courageous person, all those things. So,
okay,
for
so
fame,
in that case, it could be known as a social status, right?
social status.
Social
Yes, sir.
status.
And then sometimes it was like for just for fun or for the lust of killing the people, killing animals. For that also some hunters kill animals.
So we can say that it's for pleasure.
Yeah, for pleasure.
Okay.
For
Then,
pleasure they kill.
then.
And other than this, like um, let's say there is a herd of elephants or certain kind of beasts living in a particular area. Some kind of infrastructure has to be made over there. So for cleaning that area, they kill the animals for instant so that they can comfortably make their infrastructure in that area. So for their own convenience, they kill the animals like
Yeah.
that.
So we can say that what for the development, right?
For the
So
yes.
okay, in infrastructural development. So we can also say that an act of bravery, or you can say that for pleasure, or you can talk about for food, isn't it? For food also we kill animals, don't we?
Oh, yeah.
So we for food also we kill the animals. Okay. Can then next is called as a why did Mrs. Packletide want to kill a tiger? So that we understood, right?
Yes, sir.
So what does this story tell you about Mrs. Packletide?
About Mrs. Packletide. What I get to know about Mrs. Packletide from the story is that Mrs. Packletide was a highly competitive woman. She did not like to like stay back from the competition. She wanted to outshine it each and every situation from her competitor, my friendly competitor, who was also a friend. Even here, Loona Bimberton. So,
See,
so when
yeah, you can tell it in two regions or many regions you can add. You can say that she was jealous of her friend and she wanted to gain popularity. She was means jealous of her friend, and another thing is called as she wanted to gain popularity. Okay, so can you say that what is the tone of the story writer?
tone of the story, right? So the thing is, in each and every story and poem, I hear this thing tone. What is the tone of the poet or the author? I don't actually get it what really tone is.
Well, let me point out when the writer writes. Give me a second. Give me a second. Yeah, sorry. Actually, you know. Okay, yes, what was that? Yes, you asked me the question. What is that?
Tone.
Tone. So, what is the tone? Generally, anything the writer or the poet writes, any kind of a story or essay or called as any kind of a poem also. So, what does the poet do? The poet, we need to see that the uh, state of the poet or state of the writer, whether the poet or the writer writes the story or the poem in a in a mood of or in a state of happiness or in a state of regret or in a state of sad or in a state of anger or in a state of sarcasm, right? But as we cannot see the poet or the writer, are you listening to me?
Yes, sir.
As the poet and the writer is not present while we are reading the text or reading the poem or reading the writing. So we draw the mood of the poet, mood of the writer, mood of the essayist through their writing, isn't it?
Okay.
Because at present we have their writing, not the person. So therefore, so when we read their poem, write story or essay, so we try to draw means the poet, writer, and essayist to move through the word that he or she mentioned in the poem or essay or called as a story. So let's talk about the kind of a topic which we just read. It's called as a Mrs. Packletide's Tiger. In this story, what happened? You would find out that the author made nothing but a kind of a humorous, right? Humorous. What do you mean by humorous? Now it is written for the
Funny.
yeah, it is written for the sake of making and showing entertainment to the reader. When the author writes about the characters called as Mrs. Bimberton or Loona Bimberton and Mrs. Packletide and Miss Mebin, so their characteristic reflect that how one shows jealousy to the other, whereas another character shows that how one betrays to the other, and how one who has the jealousy for her friend, so loses a lot because of the jealousy. So this seems like what a kind of a funny situation for Mrs. Packletide. So it is also not at all. It is also not all. So when Mrs. Packletide decides to kill a tiger, so instead of killing a tiger, Mrs. Packletide kill whom? The goat.
Good. Yeah.
That
More humorous.
that makes a kind of a funny. It is also unbelievable that the tiger died because of the loud noise of the rifle, not because of the shot of that bullet. Right.
Yes, sir.
So these are the couple of things in the line which actually make the reader feel, humorous or cause fun, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next, it's called as what made Mrs. Packletide decide to give a party in Loona Bimberton's honor? What did she intend to give Loona on her birthday?
Yes, sir. Sir, sir, can you repeat the first question?
What made Mrs. Packletide decide to give a party in Loona Bimberton and Loona Bimberton's honor? Right. Second is called as what did she intend to give Loona on her birthday?
Okay. Sir, for the first question, she wanted to organize a party for Loona Bimberton because it was not for her respect or anything. It was because she wanted to give a good answer to Loona Bimberton for with presenting her or gifting her with the tiger skin that she has killed, that what Mrs. Packletide has killed, so that she could also gain the same fame and reputation or whatever kind of thing that Loona Bimberton got.
Yeah. So add to that, I would also say that what Loona Bimberton's exposing works of flying in the aeroplane forced Mrs. Packletide to answer accordingly. Right. So to answer, Mrs. Packletide planned to kill a tiger and make a great affair. Make a great
Yes.
affair. So she planned to present herself in the newspaper and magazines with the snaps and the story. With the snaps means with her picture and the story. Apart from publishing those in newspapers, she had also planned to organize a luncheon party. So a big party. So with the pretension or with the showy, she wanted to arrange the party in Loona Bimberton's honor. She wanted to show Loona Bimberton because if she only pointed that she killed the tiger and that's why she organized the party. So some people would come, but Loona Bimberton may not come. But if she mentioned that she made this party or she arranged this party only for the honor of Loona Bimberton, so obviously for the lady which she arranged the party, the lady definitely come, isn't it?
She has to come.
She
Yes.
has to come. So her sole motto was what? Her sole motto was to deep down. Deep down means what? To make down Loona Bimberton in the ocean of envy. In the ocean of envy means like she has a huge jealousy. Uh, for whom? For Loona Bimberton. And to put Loona Bimberton down was her thought. and that is why she was desirous or called as a wish. She wished to present a tiger claw brooch on Loona Bimberton's birthday.
But yes,
Right. So now the third question, how was the tiger shooting arranged? Right. How was the tiger shooting arranged? And what kind of a tiger was chosen for the purpose to meet?
sir, what do you mean? How did the how why what did the tiger shooting arranged?
Yeah, how was the tiger shooting arranged?
Arranged means like what?
The tiger shooting was arranged, no, where Mrs. Packletide took the help of the villagers, right? She had the, even assistants, Miss Mebin, right? Yeah. Second thing, it's called as all the villagers scattered the goat here and there, so that the
Parents,
uh, so that
tiger.
the so that the tiger would be confined in a limited area. So
Yes.
they all also informed mothers not to sing the lullaby uh, to make the child sleep or calm. So and on the day of the means a tiger to come. So what did they do? They used the one of the bleat goat bind on the tree. So for which what happened? The tiger would come, and when the tiger would attack the goat, they would kill the means whom? They would kill the tiger. That was, yeah. So it was nothing but kind of a plan they have created, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So, as we know that Mrs. Packletide, a superannuated woman, was not at all desirous to go for risk or hard work to kill a tiger because she was a woman and she did not want to take any kind of a risk. She did not want to do also any hard work to kill a
Yes,
tiger. So, she
yes.
declared the reward of 1000 rupees for a person or group who would arrange the killing, and fortunately, Mrs. Packletide got a village support arranging the same. So, what kind of a tiger was chosen for the purpose? The tiger was chosen that was ill, that was old and weak, and it was chosen for easy killing and less risk, isn't it?
And it can die at any point of time because of
Yes,
food.
yes. Now, the next question is called as in what way, did the villagers help Mrs. Packletide shoot the tiger?
Okay. The villagers helped Mrs. Packletide shooting the tiger by arranging the we can say the setting up the um,
Yeah,
setting up the
yeah, you can say
apparatus.
that.
Setting up the apparatus.
Hmm. So
I
you
can
can
say
say that
setting up the apparatus.
the villagers desired to grasp or hold the money. So what did they do? They arranged the shooting
Yes.
of the tiger. They chose an they chose nearest forest with an old and weak tiger living in it. So they kept tiger alive with a poor quality of goats and a group of young boys guarding the forest. They just observed the tiger. On the day of shoot, they had kept tethered a goat and had arranged a platform on the trees for a convincing shoot, right? So, and that was nothing but kind of a plan they have made. Okay,
Yes.
coming to the next question, who was Miss Mebin? Who was Miss Mebin, and was she really devoted to Mrs. Packletide? How did she behave during the tiger shooting?
Okay. Miss Mebin was a paid assistant who was appointed by Mrs. Packletide for assistance and support by the tiger shooting. And second question is that what's the second question?
Was she really devoted to Mrs. Packletide?
No, she was not really devoted to Mrs. Packletide. As we see in the context, she was a cunning woman. She was a cunning woman who was waiting for a perfect opportunity to. She was waiting to grab an opportunity to blackmail
Packletide.
Mrs. Packletide to and force her to get some more money to buy a house or a weekend cottage for herself.
That's
She was
good.
not really reported.
Yes. So you can say that Mrs. Packletide, being a lonely old lady, was had hired Miss Mebin, a paid assistant or paid attendant. No doubt, Miss Mebin was a woman, so who had only a right match with the money, not with Mrs. Packletide. Without any doubt, she was not at all devoted Mrs. Packletide. So, as far as we understood, during the shooting of the tiger, Miss Mebin had been a good judge to gather the money paid in proportionate to service that was completed. She had a super, parsimonious attitude towards money, irrespective of tiger and villagers. So what did she do? She means just waited for the perfect opportunity. Mm. Okay. So can we discuss that Mrs. Packletide was a good shot? Mrs. Packletide was a good shot. What do you think?
No, she was not good at shooting, because as we see in the story that she was targeting the tiger, but her shooting missed so much that she shot the
Good.
goat instead of the tiger.
Yeah. So you can say that Mrs. Packletide was a beginner, right? So
Begin.
beginner. So this is beyond doubt when we see her to miss a mile and shoot the goat instead. So it means Kaldaja, the goat was not very far. The goat was very close, but still she missed the shoot. A dot of salt it was for her in her rejoicing when it was discovered that her shot was in useless. So it means called as you won't find out even mm, she was sad. She was not sad. She felt like she did not seem or appear like uh, sad. So, so good, you can say that was the shot resulting in damage of our money with an unending anxiety. So, and that was the reason for which you would find out that the kind of a suit she has done, for which it is nothing but ending with a lot of money for her. Right. Her shooting is nothing but called as a very costly. Right. Second thing is called as a she was beginner. The first one is she was a beginner. Second one is called as a she was not even unhappy for missing the shot. Third is called as her shot, which was very useless, but at the same time cost is lot, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Um, So it's a very important thing that you need to know. Costly shot and means useless shot and beginner. Okay. My next question to you is called as what comment did Miss Mebin make after Mrs. Packletide had fired the shot? Why did Miss Mebin make this comment and how did Mrs. Packletide react to this comment?
As Miss Mebin was good, was very well, as Miss Mebin, sorry, as Miss Mebin was really cunning and alert during the shooting, she was aware of the aware of the fact that the tiger did not die with the shot of Mrs. Packletide, but with the loud noise of the rifle that came out of the shooting, that came out for shooting. So when she commented this, Mrs. Packletide was not so sad about that she missed her shot. Um, but she tried to bribe and bribe all the villagers and even Miss Mebin to shut their mouths and keep quiet about and not tell the true fact to anyone that Mrs. Mebin did not shot the tiger.
Yeah. So good, excellent. So we can say that what comment did Miss Mebin make after Mrs. Packletide had fired the shot? Now, please do understand that what was the exact quote she made. So we understood that apart from being a spendthrift means excessive spending. Miss Mebin was a fault finder too. Miss Mebin was fault finder too means what? Now Miss Mebin realized that how come Mrs. Packletide paying 1,000 rupees to the villagers for killing simply a tiger, right? So but at the same time, Miss Mabin was also a kind of a woman who find out the fault. After perfect spotting the shoot, she, out of habit, discovered the wrong. That what? The killing the goat instead of the tiger. So later Miss Mabin commented how amused everyone would be if they knew what really happened. Now this is the kind of a comment she made before the Packletide. Why? To show that it is a secret. If the secret would be revealed, then what would happen to the reputation of Mrs. Packletide? So Miss Mabin got Mrs. Packletide in uneasy state, means keeping Mrs. Packletide in an uncomfortable situation after she finding the unnoticed thing, right? Her motto was to what? Abuse the sentiment of Mrs. Packletide and make a little property for her. So she knew that Mrs. Mabin would pay, so that's why a paid woman, Miss Mebin, did not feel to support Mrs. Packletide. Rather, she means, utilize her ideas and the cunning attitude and searching for the chance and coincidence. So Mrs. Packletide at the beginning tried to overrule her blackmail. But soon Mrs. Packletide understood that she had no other way but to agree with what? Agree with the condition of Miss Mebin. She was very much annoyed because of this, right? To her. But at the same time, she also repented for it. Isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Coming to the next question. How did the villagers react to the tiger's death?
The villagers were glad that the tiger died. They started beating the drums and clapping out of happiness, as they knew that it was the time that they will get their 1,000 rupees or the reward which was offered by Mrs. Packletide for the assistance of the villagers. That's why they
Yeah, you can
started
say
beating
that.
the drums
Yeah.
and celebrating.
Yeah. Yeah, you can also say that the villagers with the sole target of acquiring money. The villagers had also no intention whether Mrs. Packletide killed the tiger or the tiger killed Mrs. Packletide.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
So the villagers' only observation is what? Not to get means money on the event of the tiger's death. And it was making them happy. So therefore, they were in a group. They managed to hide the fact that Mrs. Packletide could not kill the tiger and made her understand that she was only reason for her for the death of the tiger, and hence she had only been the killer. So they both in the forest and village had been, you can say, had been happy and rejoiced, beating the drums and saying tum tums, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. I discussed 8 questions with you. Uh, what are you seeing?
No, sir.
Okay, so we will discuss. Yes, go ahead.
For what, sir?
No, I'm saying that we will end now. We will meet in the next class. So we have discussed 8 questions too, right? And also the topic.
With them, but yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. So fine. We'll meet in the next class. Next class on Sunday. We will do on Sunday.
Okay, sir.
So your online class was going on?
Sir, when?
Your online class was going on, no? School online class?
Yes, sir. Means now our summer vacations have started from today onwards.
Means it is closed now.
Yes, sir.
Up till?
Till sir June 20th.
Oh my goodness, for a long holiday, no?
Yes, sir. But yeah, I can consider it as an opportunity for me to hold a lot of things and cover for a complete coverage of syllabus. Yeah, I like holidays for that only because I really don't like to get to school.
Okay, fine. No issue. Uh, okay, bye for now. We'll meet in the
Yes,
next class. Bye-bye.
yes, sure, sir. Thank you, sir.